but he'd sneak up on deck and peer curiously at England, the country he'd heard so much about but had never dreamed he'd actually see. And even in the vessel's belly, he'd been hearing footsteps and had been forced to take sudden refuge in some of his hiding places. There was no way he could allow himself to be spotted. His ragged clothes would give away the fact that he did not belong in such opulent surroundings. That was a problem. When the ship was full, he was going to have to be able to fit in. In this way, life aboard the Titanic was no different from his old life on the streets of Belfast. What he needed, he had to steal. The laundry on F deck was enormous, with dozens of cauldrons that would soon be boiling with soapy water. Paddy looked around. The drying racks were bare, and there was nothing in the hampers. There would be no laundering to do until the passengers and sailing crew were aboard. He frowned in frustration. Where could a fellow outfit himself in this place? He was about to leave when he spied a small door in the corner of the compartment. It was not like the wood-paneled entrances in the swankier parts of the ship. This was more like the hatches on the steerage cabins, the lowest class of service on board. He ventured over to investigate. An unfastened padlock hung from the hasp. Gingerly, he eased the door open and peered inside. The room was filled with crew uniforms, black and bleached white, hanging from a series of racks. He chose a heavy cable-knit sweater bearing the crest of the White Star Line, but abandoned it in favor of a black half-coat. Perfect. He'd look a proper sailor in this monkey jacket. He selected the smallest size, a luxury in itself, that. Beggars had to take whatever cast-offs they could find. He peeled off his battered coat and the shirt underneath, which was little more than a rag, and smelled none too fresh. He kicked out of his hobnail boots and ruefully noticed his toes poking out of sweaty stockings. His breeches were next, torn, muddy, and too tight. He would not miss those. As soon as the starched uniform shirt touched his skin, Paddy became aware of a warmth that had nothing to do with the temperature. So this was how rich people felt all the time. Clean, comfortable, a little stiff perhaps, especially the collar. But it was going to be easy to get used to. He stepped into the trousers and shrugged the black vest and jacket over this gleaming shirt. He caught sight of his reflection in the pier glass and had to fight down the instinct to flee from this stranger in the room. Lord Almighty, if only Daniel could see me here, looking like the Prince of Wales. It was a pity to have to step into his tattered boots again, but there were no shoes available. He popped a peaked cap on his head and stuck a bow tie in his pocket. It would probably take him until America to learn how to tie it. There was a desk at the entrance to the main passageway. Upon it sat a large ledger, pen and inkwell, so the crew members could sign for their uniforms. What a stroke of luck that he'd blundered in here before the clerk came on duty. No sooner had the thought crossed his mind than the main door opened and voices reached him from the passageway. Panicking, he looked around. To make it back to the laundry, he'd have to run out into the open, and his Titanic adventure would be over before it began. Desperately, he kicked his discarded clothing underneath the rack and dashed into the changing booth against the bulkhead. He pulled the curtains shut and stepped up onto the stool to keep his boots out of view. Another way in which life aboard the Titanic was similar to Belfast. He was still hiding, still holding his breath, and still praying that he wouldn't be discovered. Boy, when I saw you standing on the dock waiting for me, I near jumped off the deck and dashed my brains at your feet. John Huggins told his son in the uniform room. His voice was deep and scratchy from years of stoking coal in countless boiler rooms. I only wish I'd had some better news for you, Alfie said sadly. The big man ruffled his hair. Try not to be so hard on your ma. She was never cut out for the kind of life I gave her. She was always lonely, with her head in the clouds. Proper helpless she was. He brightened. But she surely did right by you.